Before I begin with this episode, I want to make this little message here. This episode discusses dark topics like favoritism, neglect, and even abuse. If you are experiencing any kind of form of this, know that you are not alone. There's always someone you can talk to, whether it be a friend, a family friend, and even a school counselor. You should never feel like you can't come out about this. Your safety and well-being is more important than anything else. That being said, I hope you guys enjoy the review. You know, I'm not really surprised that this one was the one that won the poll. Helga on the Couch was a very impactful episode for Helga, as it gives us a deep dive into the root cause of most, if not all, of Helga's insecurities and reasons for pushback and her attitude to her peers and those around her, only allowing some people to see that there is in fact a softer side to her, only for her to threaten to pound them if they tell anyone about it. I'm surprised though that Harold the Butcher got more votes than the Pigeon Man episode. Harold the Butcher, an episode where Harold steals a ham. When he's Jewish, he doesn't eat ham, and he has to apprentice Mr. Green's butcher shop. Now, yes, it was impactful for his character, but it was the least impactful for one of the characters in the polls. He only wanting to pursue meat afterwards and promising to be an apprentice after school. There was also the crazy theory in the Pigeon Man episode that was proven wrong by Craig Barlett about Pigeon Man jumping off the building at the end of the episode, or him flying into the sun representing, you know. If you want me to talk about Harold the Butcher and the Pigeon Man episode in later episodes, let me know in the comment section below. It really means so much to hear from my fellow Hooties, and your guys' feedback to my channel is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, let's get into Hey Arnold Season 4, Episode 16, Helga on the Couch. The episode starts with an aerial view of PS118. Principal Warts is in his office, playing with toys. I'm not gonna lie, I've done stuff like this when I should have been doing something more productive, like working on my reviews or whatever, but I'd rather be watching YouTube or playing a video game or something, so I really can't hand out judgment here, but it is still pretty funny. He gets a knock on the door. It's the new child psychologist, Dr. Bliss, and when he thanks him for welcoming her to a PS118, he gets strangely defensive, and he mentions how the school district found room for their budget for a child psychologist for Tuesdays and Thursdays after school. And after making a joke about giving Wart a psych profile on him, which she probably already had him read like an open book the moment he started getting defensive, and if not, could probably get him to talk faster than Helga does. But anyways, she's there early to observe the students, and Warts assures her that PS118 is the picture of mental health. When she sees Helga stampede through the hallway, pushing everyone aside, and decides to follow her close by. Mr. Simmons nervously introduces the students to Dr. Bliss and explains that she's there for them and not him, asking whether or not that's true. And you can tell Bliss can probably guess his whole life by just the way she's reading his body language alone. She's a really interesting character, and it's a real shame that she's only in one episode, as there are many episodes that someone like her could have been a great help for situations. But then again, if that was the case, then Arnold wouldn't be able to be the voice of reason, and everyone would just go to her for these problems. While class goes on, she observes how Helga treats Arnold. You know, the usual affair, throwing spitballs, saying, "What?" when he looks back as if she's like, "Oh, what am I doing? I ain't doing nothing," and staring at him longingly. After class, Helga tells Phoebe to save her the Foursquare course, and to tell Harold if he tries to take it, that she'll pull out his appendix the old-fashioned way. As she sees Arnold, and goes from talking about how much she hates him, to going, "and yet," and gives one of her famous soliloquies about her longing for him. All the while, Brainy, voiced brilliantly by Craig Barlett, simply says hi and waves at her, to which she socks him in the face. Which, how many times she breaks his glasses, his parents must either have really good insurance, or he has a large quantity of poorly made glasses with lenses made of brittle sugar glass. The act was seen by Bliss, and Helga is sent to Wart's office as she explains that she socked him for the horrible crime of breathing. As Wart is surprised that she would find someone for treatment before lunch, before beginning to go into a tirade like he usually does, Dr. Bliss telling him to calm down and sit down before he goes off the rails. He agrees and goes back to playing with his toys. She makes a really good assessment that Helga's antisocial behavior might be because of something or someone, as she makes her way home, worried that her obsession with Arnold will be found out when she arrives home, and Big Bob is already complaining that Helga needs therapy and that this would never happen to Helga. And for those who aren't familiar, this episode really shows how Helga's family treats her, contrast to how they treat Helga. I'll get to that later on when Helga herself talks about it, and I can properly give my hoot in the dark about why I absolutely hate Bob and Miriam Pataki, but not Olga. Because despite how she's been portrayed as this perfect character with no flaws, she does have them, and we do see the dark side of how putting someone on a pedestal does have negative effects on someone, and how they feel like they have to be perfect at everything they do and never show that they can't do something. And it plays a big part into why she became so unglued in Season 1, Episode 16, Olga Comes Home, when she gets a B+ and not straight A's, and just shuts down and gives up on life for a couple of days, until the guilt eats away at Helga, and she finally tells her that she was the one that changed her grade to get back at her for being so perfect. And Olga opens up about how she hates the constant praise that Bob and Muriel give her, because it makes her feel like she always has to reach a standard that they put for her, and it's always going up, and it's always going up. But now, where was I? Oh, yeah. Bob talks about how they never had therapy, and the Patakis never talk about stuff because they just sweep things under the rug. And Miriam's all like, oh, bad things are best swept under the rug, and repeats that this never happens to Olga. No, of course it didn't, because you never neglected her and ignored her existence like you're doing right now with Helga. And you even call her Olga more times than you call her by your actual name, because Olga was such a golden child, and you just couldn't have any attention to anything else but Olga, even though Helga is a very intelligent person in her own right. No, thanks to you two, failures of human beings. Bob, you're a scummy, greedy piece of... And Miriam is too lost in the smoothie sauce to know which way is up and which way to sleep. No wonder Helga is the way she is. Her parents are useless scum. With that ran out of the way, Helga goes on about how Dr. Bliss isn't even going to be able to talk about a single thing about her. She's just gonna ramble on, and Miss Bliss isn't going to get a word in edgewise while going in the closet and doing some kind of Arnold-like ritual, which her shrine to Arnold changes from episode to episode. We see it ranging from a statue like this to just being made of chewing gum, which she does mention. I believe the chewing gum was thrown out with her old journals, which is an interesting way to have more statues come in. You know, come to think of it, this show does have some pretty good continuity, because I think Helga's journals and stuff did get thrown out, along with her giant mass of chewing gum statue. So yeah, I'm not really bothered by this. They all look funny and fit the episode, at least in my opinion. Helga arrives at Dr. Bliss's office, and for those who want to know what the name of the city is, like I did, we see the city is called Hillwood. And though the name might make you think it's based off of Hill Valley from back in the future, the fictional city is based off of what's more than likely New York City and different cities around that area. She's wearing a trench coat like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and Phoebe comes up and asks what she's doing, and she tells her that she's just gonna make up a bunch of stories and not even give Dr. Bliss a chance to speak. And from the moment Helga steps in, she immediately goes in for the attack, and asks her a bunch of questions, walking around, acting like she's not gonna open up, but just from answering questions and Dr. Bliss allowing Helga to walk around, she's able to get Helga to open up more, even just a little bit, about her feelings and her interests by just answering her questions and not making it obvious that she's trying to get Helga to open up. Showing not only how good Dr. Bliss is as a children's psychologist, but how observant Helga is and how intelligent she can be despite her rough exterior that she had to grow and wear because of events that happened in her past, but we'll get to that when we get to that. She lets Helga take the chair and ask her questions, and she talks about a story about her sister, which gets Helga to start talking about her sister, which is an interesting touch that she was able to open up about a story about her sister to help Helga feel comfortable about speaking about her family and eventually about how she's treated in it. As Helga talks about Olga's latest visits, we get this weird black and white scene reminiscent to shows like Leave It to Beaver or The Andy Griffith Show, when it snaps to color when Helga walks in, as if the three of them were in their own little perfect bubble and Helga has to come in and pop it and bring them back to reality. We see that Miriam forgot Helga's winter coat at the cleaners. They were all swept up by the excitement of their golden child to get it, and Helga has to go to school during a snowstorm. Them not even caring to tell her goodbye or that they love her. All they want to do is worship the perfect daughter, Olga. Which again, it's not Olga's fault. She was just lucky to not only have zero of the parents' worst traits, but in fact being extremely talented, but also she's hot. You think that Bob would spend more time with Helga, considering they almost look and act the same, even doing the same hey thing that Bob does in certain episodes. Helga is about to slip and almost bring up Arnold when she realizes that Dr. Bliss is just trying to get her to open up. And then as she's leaving, Dr. Bliss reveals that she knows about Arnold.
Arnold?
We now bring you back to Hoot in the Dark's review of Hey Arnold, Helga on the couch. When we last left off, Helga was about to leave, and Dr. Bliss suggests that they talk about Arnold. Like always, Helga tries to deny it, but Dr. Bliss calls her out for throwing 57 spitballs at him and staring at him the entire time, and calls him football head all the time, and that it's a lot of attention to give someone even if it's a negative. I also love the way she motions Helga to lay on the couch, and it's like, let's talk about this, Helga. She tries to make an argument that it was Arnold Day, and the other day was Gerald Day. She's giving a Rorschach test, and they all end up looking like Arnold. To which she takes them and throws them out the window, giving Bliss more than enough proof that she was in fact right, that this all stems around Arnold. Dr. Bliss asks Helga to explain more about how her family neglects her, and Helga brings up the time when Miriam was passed out on the couch and forgot to get her lunch, and she was being late for school, and Miriam ends up having it in the oven and has Bob's shaving cream in lunch, and we hear Bob complaining that he put cheese whiz on his face instead of shaving cream. But the scene that really makes me hate these two pathetic excuses of parents is the scene where Olga was in high school and Helga was about 3 or 4, and her parents would rather listen to Olga play the piano than take her daughter to preschool, making her walk all the way there, which I just so happen to have a map of Hillwood, probably made by the creator, and I can't exactly find where Urban Tots is. I swear if she had to walk across town, which, again, I highly doubt that because she couldn't have been more than 3 or 4, and it was still morning when she got there, which is still terrible considering neither Bob nor Miriam gave enough of to take their own daughter to school so she could have an actual education. But honestly, it's a good thing that she went out on her own to go to school because she could have easily have just not went. They don't care, and I bet Bob would have gladly have just said she's being homeschooled and not even bothered to do anything. And don't even get me started on Miriam. She's too lost in the sauce, and she's too drunk and even sleeps in her own room, passing out on the couch or behind it while she's sitting in the kitchen table In fact, Helga had to take care of herself and look after herself to such a young age, regardless of the fact that she was 9 now. At most, she had to take care of herself for 6 years, 5 if she was 4. When she attended preschool is just sickening. And no matter how many scenes we see of how the family say they love Helga, and this isn't going to change the fact that they would rather listen to Olga play the piano or spend time showering Olga with all this praise to send Helga to preschool and start her educational career. I'm honestly surprised that Dr. Bliss doesn't pull a Matilda and have Helga taken away from her family and adopt her. She would be a far better parent than any of those failures, and just, she's forced to take care of her mom more so than Bob. At least Bob takes care of himself. Okay, I'm gonna take a minute. Okay. Okay. We see the first time Helga meets Arnold, and it's just as adorable as you thought it'd be. Him holding his umbrella for her as they walk in. And this is the beginning of her infatuation for him, when he was just being nice to her like he did for everyone. But unfortunately, this causes her to be made fun of by Harold and the others, and we see that she takes a decision to be mean to everyone, so that no one sees her more sensitive side, and no one sees that she has feelings for Arnold or anyone. It's also here that Harold starts calling her Madame Fortress Mommy, which was improvised by Harold's voice actor, and later on as a quick little one-liner for occasions. She hides behind a trash can and begins her very private soliloquies as she confesses her love for Arnold, and the first time hitting Brainy, and Dr. Bliss tries to get behind why she has a fascination for Arnold, letting her know that anything said will stay between them, and Helga confesses to her obsession with Arnold.
I love Arnold! I love him! I love him! Arnold, Arnold, Arnold! I'm absolutely positively in love with the boy! I love Arnold! Satisfied!
Which she has done this before with Lila when trying to get her to back out of the school's rendition of Romeo and Juliet in the episode School Play, which was in the 3rd season, and in the 4th season, just a couple episodes before this, it's confirmed that she in fact told Phoebe about it. So it's kind of weird that she's acting like it's been building for a while, and she hasn't told anyone, even though she's admitted to it twice. And if you want to be technical, she did admit it to a group of people at the dentist office in the 5th episode of the 3rd season. Helga blabs it all while on laughing gas. She tells her that she's creative and she needs to tell Arnold how she feels, but to take her time, and as long as it's not hurting anyone, it's okay to have this obsession. I think. This is a weird end to an episode. It really reminds me of the episode Helga's Love Potion. You know, where she wants to stop loving, and it was just a pseudo cure, and everything was in her own head. So it's not a uncontrollable obsession, it's just a obsession that Helga chooses to have. It's an episode from season 2, and it's kind of weird that she has to be reminded of this thing again. But anyways, she said that their session is over after 1 and agrees to keep attending. She runs into Arnold and keeps a secret by yelling at him. Brainy is seen waiting for her, and she said she's not gonna hit him this time, before walking home, feeling better than ever that she can keep this obsession with Arnold. And that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Let me know what you guys think of this episode in the comments, and if you want me to talk about the other 2 episodes in the poll in a future video. Until then, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, hit the subscribe button, and join the Parliament of Hoots today. And I'll see you guys when you visit the Owlery again, and I give my hoot in the dark. Thank you so much for watching. Join the Parliament of Hoots today and hit the bell to let you know when I go live or my next video is up. Don't forget to like the video and share with your fams. Let me know what you guys think of this episode in the comment section below. Check out these 2 videos, it'll take you to more of my content. Don't forget to follow me on my other platforms, Twitter and PlayStation Network. I might get a Twitch sometime, but in the near future. Until then, thank you guys so much for watching as I gave my Hoot in the Dark.